Sustainability requires us to re-evaluate the way our culture has evolved to meet human convenience. We must incorporate holistic knowledge to transform society in a way that sustains human existence within our environment. So how does Townsville compare when it comes to sustainable practices of produce consumption? The supermarket is largely responsible for where most Townsville residents obtain their produce. However, where does it come from and how far has it travelled? Our research found that all produce, even grown locally, must first travel to Brisbane before being distributed to grocery stores. How is this sustainable when we account for all the water and energy used to transport and mass produce them? You could virtually get all the same produce from markets, where it is farmed and sold locally, or can even be grown in your own backyard.
Human beings have two major needs in life. That is sustenance and sociability. So the drive for people to be social has forced us into clustering into towns and cities. But this has actually forced us to be further distances from our sources of sustenance. So from rather growing your own food, we've kind of shifted towards all our foods and products being clustered into these areas which we know now as supermarkets. Consider the products in a supermarket compared to something that you grow yourself in your backyard. The average distance a product travels on the shelf of a supermarket is roughly the equivalent of travelling around Australia twice. And you can see the distance difference between here and 2 times around Australia. You can imagine the energy and the water required to, move that product. So think of sustainable, like the earliest traditional cultures were most sustainable because they grew everything right at their back door. And then throughout time we shifted from our back doors to marketplaces. But it wasn't too bad because the marketplace was for the local community. Nobody travelled any more than 50 kilometres to get to this market.
Everybody is very positive about getting fresh food, younger food, and hopefully cheaper. Food is much shorter travel because it just comes from there to there, from there to here, whereas their food goes from here to there, Brisbane and back, cold storage and everything else. So it is definitely fresher.
So throughout time we use more and more energy and water to get to where we want to go, but eventually we can't go any further. We're going to run out of these things. So what we really need to do is use this thing in our heads to reconnect with the environment, use less water, less energy.
We can use less water and energy if we take the time to grow our own produce. There are a variety of fruits, vegetables and herbs that can be grown right here in Townsville. In a general sense, humans have begun to ignore the connection between us and the surrounding environment. This is reflected in our consumer patterns. We have a tendency to blame the establishments for our environmental concerns, but we must also consider the impact of our everyday decisions. If we can make better choices simply by purchasing local produce or growing our own, we contribute to a more sustainable future.